It basically comes from the body. All the stars in the galaxy are inside of our body, and we use these outer planets and stars and galaxies to look inside of ourselves. But actually we're talking about our bodies, and we're using astrology as the language to help connect us to our spirituality, to our diet, to health, and to our history. We're going to look inside of the brain. In particular, we're looking at the inside of the third ventricle of the brain, which is a fluid-filled space. And inside that fluid-filled space is the hypothalamus, and below there is the pineal gland. These are your brain cells blown up to about the size of a car. And below here is the pineal gland, and up above is floating this galaxy, as you would call it, celestial body. And it has little planets in it, it has a sun in it, it has moons, and they float and they have an orbit, and it tilts, and it moves sort of like what you would call a spaceship. Now I'm going to show you some of the movements of it. These are some of the movements of it. It has a swirling movement here, and sometimes it develops a tail, and sometimes it moves clockwise and counterclockwise. In the lower picture here you can see how it moves sideways, up, down on various angles. And that is the anatomical third eye, or the celestial body within you, the galaxy within you, your celestial presence that announces you as part of the universe, and the universe is part of you. Now this, of course, is the position in Hotep, commonly called Escalapius by the Greeks. And all of the ancient doctors were familiar with the science of astrology. It is part of our science, it's part of a language which we use to help connect a person to his body. He was, of course, the one who put together the compendium known as the Ibers Papyrus. And then we have other medical books, the Cahun Papyrus, which I'll show you down the bottom here. Cahun Medical Papyrus, which is a compendium of information about women's diseases. That's written around 1700 BC. Then we have 1600 BC, or before the Common Era, as we call the Edwin Smith Papyrus, which is about surgical textbook and anatomical inquiries. These are European names. These are the people who stole the book. And they don't call it a medical textbook. They call it a papyrus, named after the paper. That's the same as calling the book that you get now a tree instead of calling it a book. And this is the Ibers Papyrus, is 1550 BC. And the man that I was pointing to, Imhotep, was known to be a magi, architect, a builder. He built the step pyramid, and a poet and a magician. This is in the third dynasty, 2780 BC, before the Common Era. That's a picture of a bronze statue of Imhotep. Now, we all studied laws of rhythms and cycles, and that's why we always studied arithmetic first in African science. Arithmetic. We studied that first. Now, they took the Y and put an I so you wouldn't see the word rhythm. It's a study of rhythm. So we have A, I'm phonetically breaking it down, arithmetic. The first word A comes from da, which means the power of, like you say, the bird. It has the power of a bird. The chair, the power of a chair. And rith, which means rhythm. And rhythm is usually an orderly pulsation of beats. It's orders, like cycles. It's a cycle of beats. And then we have matik. And matik is derived from the word metta, or metdu, which means God. So when we put the word together again and give its African definition, we get the power of the cycles of God, which you would call astrology or the zodiac. So African scientists study arithmetic, law and order, cycles, the rhythm, the power of the rhythms of planets and cells. And then that led to the shapes that the cells form, or the galaxy, as you saw, the celestial body that floats above your pineal gland. Those shapes that it forms are geometric shapes. And these are earth patterns of order or cycles. because geo comes from the word earth, which earth has a pattern or order or cycles. And metri comes from the word medu or God. And we're again looking at earth cycles of God. So we're constantly studying the law and order of the galaxy, of the planets, of your blood, of the bones, of your health, which we call medicine. Now we know that this is all interrelated, these various cycles inside of your body. And let's look at the holistic chart once again, so you can see those cycles inside of your body. Now, let's look at the zodiac sign down the bottom. Let me raise that up for you so you can see much better. Now, over here we have the houses. Houses are in, this is zodiac language I'm getting into now. We're talking about a house. A house is like, they're divided into 12. You see, we have the house here. This is what you need to do a zodiac sign. You have to have the date of the person's birth. You have to have the time they were born, the place, and then you have to know where that place is on the world globe. So you would have to know the latitude and longitude on the world map. And that gives you where the house is. And the sign, which could be a fire sign, a water sign, or air sign, and the planet's influences on that sign. We have fast-moving planets, which is like the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and Venus. And we have slow-moving planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And they have their influences on these particular zodiac signs that actually influence your organs. We have Aries, which influences the eyes and cerebellum. And then, of course, the note D flat is equated with that, and the color red. And the zodiac house is your first zodiac house is Aries. Then you have Taurus and Leo going around the zodiac signs. So now we have Aries, and then we have Taurus, which influences your neck and cerebellum and lower brainstem, and Leo, which influences your heart and thymus, and Libra, which is your kidneys and adrenals, and Cancer, the breast, veins, and arteries, Virgo, your intestines, liver, and pancreas. These are the body parts related to the zodiac sign. And this Sagittarius is the sciatic nerve and the thigh, which is your motor response, and Scorpio, which is associated with the sex organs, the genitals, or gonads, and Aquarius, which is associated with your lower leg, your colon, your bladder, and Pisces with your feet and circulation, and Capricorn, which is associated with your knees, your teeth, your bones, your kneecap, that sort of thing, and Gemini with the arms and the legs and the fallopian tubes. So each zodiac sign has an influence on parts of your body. You are the zodiac is you. It's not something out in space, it's something that you carry with you every day. Now, I want to show you the positive and negative expressions of planetary principles. When I was talking about the planets, it has a positive expression. The sun, we associate it with radiation of your spirit, creativity and loving and pouring forth of self. The negative part of the sun is pride and arrogance and excessive desire to be special, to have attention. And we have the moon, this planetary influence is responsiveness, inner contentment, flowing, adaptability of sense of skill of self. And the negative aspect of that is oversensitivity, insecurity, inaccurate, inhibiting sense of self. And Mercury, next planet, creative use of skill or intelligence, reason, and power discrimination, use to serve higher ideals, ability to come to agreement through objective understanding and clear verbal expression. And the negative aspect of that expression is misuse of skills or intelligence, amorality through rationalization of anything, opinionated, and one-sided communication. You find a lot of people like that, and that's when they're in the negative aspect of Mercury. We associate Venus with love, give and take with others, sharing, generosity, and spirit. And the negative aspect is self-indulgence, greed, emotional demands, inhibition of affections. The next planet we were talking about is Mars, which is associated with courage, initiative, willpower, consciously directed toward legitimate aim. Negative aspect is impatience, willfulness, violence, and proper use of force and threats. As you can see, the Europeans are into this Mars on the negative aspect. Let me raise up the planetary chart for you so you can get a clear view. Now let's look at Jupiter, which deals with faith, reliance, higher power, greater plane or greater plan, openness, grace, optimism, openness to self, needs for improvement. The negative aspect is overconfidence, laziness, scattered energy, leaving the work to others, irresponsibility, overextending yourself, or promising to do much. That's being procrastinating. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You meet a lot of people that leave the work to others, and they're into the negative aspect of Jupiter. This Saturn is associated with disciplined effort, acceptance of duties and responsibility, patience, organization, and reliability. Negative aspect is self-restriction through too much reliance on self and lack of faith, rigidity, coldness, defensiveness, crippling inhibition, fearfulness, and negativity. Let's move to Uranus. Attunement to truth, originality, inventiveness, directed experimentation, and respect for freedom. Negative aspect is willfulness, restlessness, impatience, constant need for excitement, and purposeless change, rebellion, and extremism. Neptune, attunement with the whole, realization of spiritual dimensions of experience, all-encompassing compassion, living an ideal. Negative aspect is self-destructive escapism, evasion of responsibility and self-deepest needs, refusal to face one's motives, and to commitment to self and to anything. And Pluto, acceptance of the need to focus one's mind and will and power on one's own transformation, having the courage to face one's deepest desires. And the negative aspect is compulsive expression of subconscious craving, willful manipulation of others to serve one's own needs and ends, and ruthless using any means to avoid the pain of. And that's just some of the aspects of the planets. We're going to move on. We're just going over the background you need, but our ancestors applied this to their daily life. The astrology of Shechem of Shechem, or the Orient Star. I'm going to show you how we classify this energy in African science. And make sure you're getting a good picture of it. Because we say Shechem of Shechemu, which is the Orient Star, and we use Nit for wood, and Sebek is the crocodile, and Kepra the beetle, and Nu is water. We have the 7 color bands, which you call the rainbow, or they're the 7 color bands of the melanin crystal, which are equal to the 7 halls of Osiris. And we have the North Pole star, Pleiades, the 7-star system, the star of the peak of the constellation. Our ancestors used them in their daily language. We have the water lily and mandrake, which is a symbol of the 5th dynasty, which is a plant. This lily blooms the 3rd day, which is a solar cycle. The flower goes up 18 inches above the water, which is a galaxy cycle. It opens at 8 a.m., which is an earth cycle. It closes at noon, which is a moon, which is influenced by the moon and chlorophyll. And on the 3rd day, it goes below the water, which is, again, the solar cycle. And our ancestors related to that. Now, let's get into this energies, which we call Tifet classification chart. Now, we have north here and south here. North we call an Osiris, which is associated with hot, orange, energy spins to the right. And it's serotonin, which is a hormone produced in your body and during the day, associated with melanin. And it's used for catabolic, which means it destroys, adrenaline, which produces fight or flight energy. It's active. It has the carbon associated with this energy, acid state, daytime, electricity, and magnetic positive. All that's associated with Osiris, or north. And south is Isis, which is cold, indigo, bluish. The energy spins to the left, associated with melatonin, which is for growth and repair. As a growth hormone, it's anabolic, which means building, associated with sleep, oxygen, alkaline state, night, chemistry, and magnetic negative. Now we have the what we call the elements here: fire, earth, water, and air. They're used in the zodiac because they influence certain planets. We'll get into that as I talk more. Now, fire is called Afit. Afit is carbon, red, negative ion, vitamins, pungent taste, expands small intestines, heart, sour taste, liver, and it contracts. We get into earth for Top, which is associated with nitrogen, indigo, positive ion, minerals, bitter taste, strengthens small intestines and heart. Next we go over to air, which is Ma, associated with oxygen, yellow, negative ion, vitamins, sweet taste, retards, pancreas, and growth. We get into water, which is Mu'i, hydrogen, blue, positive ion, minerals, salty taste, softens the kidneys and sex organ. This is associated with Mu. We have Shu here, Nui here, Gib here, and Tefnut here. We have cold and moist, which is in the south, which means a person's personality to be cold and moist. And that person more lended toward having one large meal a day. Now we have Ptah, which goes to the black dot, Min, and we go to Atim. This is where you get the shape of the het that people have. You have the brim, which is Ptah, which Min builds the mountain for Ptah to sit on, Atim. And that gives you the shape of the het, which is actually a galaxy kind of shape, reinforcing our spirituality system. Hind is associated with active mind, which we call Ku, and Dry is associated with a skinny, active body, which we call Kat. And this is how we basically divide the energy, a Sefet, classification of energy chart. As you can see, we're using the terms in the zodiac, our African terms, for the zodiac to help explain that. As I mentioned before, we have these influences of the elements. And I was talking about the Pleiades and the stars earlier, and we use those stars even in our diagnostic language. I said Earth, which is associated with smell, and your large intestines, which is a solid. And we have planets that come under Earth. We have Taurus and Virgo and Capricorn, and we have water element, which is associated with taste in the small intestine. We have planets such as Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces, which come under water. And then we have fire. We have Aries and Leo and Sagittarius, which is associated with sight. And we have air, which is Gemini and Libra and Aquarius, which is associated with touch and the lungs. And all that helps us to reinforce our understanding of the zodiac. But it also applies to our diagnosing of the body and the brain and the small intestine and large intestine. So we have the Sirius system here, which is called the star system. At the top you have the brain, the small intestines. You start drawing the star this way. You go this way, up, down, over, and across. So we start here with the large intestines and lungs, sends air to the brain, then we go down to the kidney and sex organs, then we go over to the pancreas and spleen, and then we go across to the liver. If the lungs are congested with mucus that's cold, then treat the liver energy, the opposite of the arrow. So what the chart is saying, if the lungs are congested, then we go the opposite. We treat the liver with milk thistle or dandelion, and the liver breaks down the waste, which relieves the burden off the large intestines. The small intestine energy direction of the arrow going away from it. See, if something wrong with the lungs, we can also treat the small intestines, you see. And once you purify the waste in the small intestine, it takes the burden of the waste off the large intestines, which would recycle the water back to the lungs, so you get impure water going to the lungs. So we can help speed up the digestion with bulk and chlorophyll to help purify the small intestines, so it won't throw the waste in the large intestines, which will try to get rid of the carbon dioxide and waste through the lungs. And the pineal gland bonds the treatment in the body. So we can treat the lungs if they're congested by working on the liver or the small intestines. And the waste, of course, is going to be flushed out through the kidneys, because we get rid of 4 times as much waste through the kidneys as we do through the bowels. Now, how would you combine those herbs that you were using to treat this condition? We use the pyramid combining herb system. Again, we're coming out the pyramid clusters that are formed when you make rain. We have to have these clusters, so we're back into nature, back into the astrological basis of our life, which is inside of us. So we're going to treat this mucus congestion of the lungs. How are we going to do that? We're going to use this pyramid system. 2 parts, 1 part, 1 part. A part can be a teaspoon, a tablespoon, an ounce, or a cup. Now, we're going to use 2 parts mullein, 1 part elecampane or pleurisy or slippery elm, and 1 part chickweed, coltsfoot, horehound, or hyssop. So we could say 2 parts mullein, 1 part elecampane, 1 part chickweed. We combine all of them together to treat the mucus congestion of the lungs. So as you can see, this zodiac influence is a part of our treatment regimen. We never lose the language, and we never stop using the system, because it's all based on the universe. You have at the top here the energy flow in the universe. We have our universe, and up here we have the black hole, which some people call the black dot. And down the bottom we have the white hole. So we have our universe and the elsewhere universe, or the underworld, as our ancestors would say. Then you have this wormhole, and you have an outer even horizon here, and an inner horizon in there. And this is singularity right here. So we have this energy flow, the black hole, coming down through the wormhole to the white hole. That's time and space element that influences us. This is where you get this word black hole that people sometimes you hear them saying, you wonder what they're talking about. They're talking about the black hole, your melanin center, which transforms and breaks down colors, and you see white light, but the white light is coming from the blackness. It's just the male and female. Now, we know that we are part of the universe. We know that we are part of the planets. That's obvious to us because we know that the water moves in response to the moon. And us human beings are very watery. The amount of water in the human body averages about 65%. Men have more water than women. You have 83% water in your blood, 75% water in your muscles, 82% water in your kidneys, 22% water in your bones, 74% water in your brain. So anything that affects the water, its weight, its heaviness and lightness affects you. So you're connected to the water and the moon's influence on your water. In Africa we have a water season, we have a wind season which is called Shu, we have a dry season which is called Set. We have 4 seasons, 4 months to a season. 1 year has 3 seasons. In our calendar we have a month which is 30 days, and we have a 10-day week, so we have 3 weeks to a month, 1 week being 10 days. The solar calendar, the oldest one, is the African one based on the sun system, which was dated back 40,100 BC, before the Common Era. We're based on the 7 gods from the constellation of the Lesser Bear, which revolves around the third eye that I showed you earlier, known as the Great Judge. So anything that influences water will have an effect on us. But the water in our body and the water on the planet and the water in the universe has a cycle. It has a spin to it. And this spin and cycle has an effect on us. As I mentioned, the water season and the language that we do have. We have the equatorial presence in a water crystal, electrical presence, and the equatorial future. And all of this is constantly in motion or in tilt to the North Star, as I mentioned, going to the Lesser Bear and Greater Bear. The stars have an influence on the water has influence on the electromagnetic flow within us and within the entire universe. The universe is in us. The galaxy is in us. Down the bottom here we see the galactic equator, the North Galactic Pole, to the center of the galactic center. So we have a galactic equator and an ecliptic, along with the Earth equator and ecliptic, along with a raindrop equator and ecliptic, along with our bodies having a center, a solar center, and ecliptic center, and an equatorial line. We are the universe and the galaxy and the universe is us. Now what happens is these colors break down in our body. And when the colors break down, they cause certain emotions and feelings. And these emotions and feelings are based on what organs they stimulate. When you have this water and you have the sun striking it through your skin and through your eyes, you're going to manifest these colors. And when I showed you the whole holistic chart in the beginning, and I showed you how those colors relate, I'll pull it back up for you in a moment, but I want you to see that's a breakdown of what we call the melanin color band that you see, which the Europeans call the rainbow, which they name after violence, the bow and arrow which they use to kill people. They always like to use violence in naming things. We got to kind of get away from that sometimes. But nonetheless, that rainbow or melanin color band, as it properly should be called, influences. Some water holds different colors based on the season, based on the time, based on the galactical sphere. We have more of one color in our systems than another. So if your water is breaking down more of the violet color, it's going to stimulate your pituitary gland, which is myrrh. Or if it's breaking down a lot of indigo, it's going to stimulate Ik, which is your pineal gland. Or Shechem, which is your thyroid, which is blue. Or Kepler, which is your thymus, which is green. Or Av, which is your adrenal liver, which is yellow. Or Tik, which is your ovary and testicles, which is orange. Or red, which is Safik, which is no gland, it's your colon and rectum. So the colors have taken this effect on you in the atmosphere when they're bent by the clouds, the moisture in the clouds, because we have these 5 major vapor rivers in the sky that originate from Africa, and they have various colors based on the cycle of the planet and the galaxy and based on the cycle of our spiritual presence. So we have these various influences of color. And again, if you predominantly produce in yellow, then you're going to put your system under Taurus. If predominantly your water is breaking down, or the water from the vapor rivers, the 5 major ones in the sky, if the predominant rivers, you have 2 green rivers, then you're going to have an influence of Cancer upon your presence. Now, maybe I should go back and just explain a little bit of this, go back to the basics of it all, how this water is actually occurring here, how it's really breaking down, and it's really influencing us. Now, as you can see, the refraction of sunlight, which makes heat coming through the environment, strikes the water. When it strikes the water, it makes a color. When the sunlight strikes a cloud, it makes a color. And then a lot of sunlight is absorbed by the ground and the sea, of course, but all this is the color effect of the sun. And then the color moves with the wind because the wind has moisture in it. So we're constantly under the presence of colors, which influences us according to certain zodiac signs. The water is made rather simply, of course. The vaporization of the water from the sea goes up to the clouds, and then it condenses and meets a cold front or a warm front, and then we have this rainfall. We have the high pressure, which is male, and the low pressure, which is female. We have the serotonin effect meeting the melatonin effect. And these effects meet each other and causes a spin, either spin to the left or spin to the right. And these spins are controlled by colors and by electromagnetic forces, which we have inside of us. Now, everything that we have has like a cycle to it. You just can't have a thought unless it follows a certain order. Everything has an order, a focus to it. We have this, the cause of anxiety and panic and phobias are caused when our colors are out of cycle, or we are out of cycle, and we're not conforming to the cycles of the galaxy, which are inside of us. We're breaking the laws. And when we break these laws, they can cause these kind of reactions in our system, a mental reaction or a physical reaction. That's disturbance. See down the bottom here? I want you to see that. Down the body is disturbance in the body energy system. That's what I'm talking about. And this cascades up to nutritional deficiencies, which is disturbance in the body energy system, which disturbs the neurotransmitter balance, which is melatonin and serotonin in your pineal gland, which builds up waste in your body, which can cause a food allergy, which can result in damage in your tissues and cells, which can cause pain and injury, and then you're not able to metabolize your carbohydrates properly, or you're eating too much white sugar, which is called an energy drop, which is going to cause biological factors and predispose you to not being able to stabilize your genetic code, and drugs can rebound and throw your whole body energy system off balance, especially drugs, alcohol, and common drugs like Ritalin and Tylenol and aspirin, things of that sort. And of course, all of this is controlled by laws, and laws are rhythms, and rhythms are cycles. And we use the planets to help us understand those things. Yeah, I'm going to show you some cycles here. See, all feelings and thoughts have cycles. If your mother dies, and every year around that month that your mother died, be it in January or June, you're going to have an anniversary of the death. That's the cycle coming around. First time you had some big trauma in your life, or lost a job, or something very bad happened, you'll have an anniversary of that date. Anxiety is the fear, hurt, or loss, nagging, stress. You have anxiety crises, which has cycles. Anger, which has cycles. And depression. So you have to know when this is coming up. You can feel yourself starting to get angry. You can feel yourself starting to get nervous. You can feel the cycles coming on. So you will know right away when you start getting anxious, particularly upset, you start taking some chamomile. You start taking some neurotransmitters like GABA. You start taking some St. John's wort because you can feel the cycle coming on. You feel some pain coming on because pain has cycles. Then you start taking some white willow or boswellia, something for pain. You can feel these things. Mother Nature lets you know when you're having cycles. All we're aware of is the menstruation cycle because we're sex-orientated because we were trained to breed. So we had to keep track of that because sometimes our lives depended on breeding and our value as a slave. So we wouldn't be sold dependent upon being a stud. And that's why black men today still act that out, this breeding and stud cycle. So all we know of is menstruation. This is a cycle diagram, graph diagram, showing you the cycles you have in your life. Your first cycle, from 1 to 7 years old. Your second cycle, from 7 to 14. Your third cycle, 14 to 21. These are the cycles of your educational development as a person. You learn these cycles and you're taught in these cycles, which we call rites of passage. That's when you get into your adult cycle, the second cycle. And then when you become adult, you're in your third cycle, which is your solar cycle. These cycles. Then once you become adult, then you can have a family. You're already born into family, but then you can get married because you've successfully transited out and had rites of passages in each cycle to prepare you for the next cycle in your growth and development. Now, you establish your career and income. That occurs in this cycle from 29 to about 45. So that's in your fifth and sixth cycle. That's when you had a midstream division, you have a change, you could be in recessional. This is when that occurs. Then you have a transitional. You see the zodiac signs right here. I'm letting you know these are signs of the planet and so forth. But I'm going to explain those as we move along. I want to overbear you with too much information at one time. You have a transitional and critical cycle, which is 7 times 7, which is 49. That's when you're into the seventh cycle. Then you have introspection and inspirational kind of cycle, which is your eighth cycle, which happens between 49 and 58. So we have cycles in our lives, and we were taught these cycles and taught how to understand them and capitalize on them and get the most out of our cycles with the African educational system, which the Europeans call rites of passage. We did everything according to laws and according to the cyclic laws of nature. We were always involved with the planets, and the planets were always involved with us. Now, we have the spring equinox. It's when the sun is over the center here. It has nothing to do with the longest day and shortest day. It's when the sun's light is striking the equatorial center. We have the spring equinox, the summer solstice, autumn equinox, and the winter solstice. And during these solstices is when us Africans have various celebrations. Harvesting celebrations, marriage celebrations, spiritual celebrations around the equinox, or the solstices we call it, based on the sun, as our calendar is based on. We have the north celestial pole, we have the celestial equator, the earth inside of the celestial body. We always base our ceremonies in harmony with everything that's going on in our culture. The sun means vitality. The moon is related to heredity. Mercury means critical. Venus is feeling and attraction. Mars is determination, the technical things like soldiers and craftsmen. And Jupiter is related with wealth, and Saturn is related to being serious and cautious. And Uranus means independent or reformer. And Neptune deals with impressions and imagination, and Pluto, of course, is influences like politicians, those people, those that come under the sign of Pluto. Now, I'm showing you how we use astrology and those spiritual implications of it along with everything. We made it like a holistic type of thing. African astrology. If you were born from the 4th of December to the 3rd of January, your favorable day is Tuesday. Successful months are April and December. Your element is water. Your sense of hearing is keen. Your body parts is skin and bones. So let's go to, let's say, Bastet. See if you can see Bastet. This is Egyptian astrology. If you were born between the 14th and 28th of July, or the 23rd to 27th of September, or 3rd to 17th of October, you come under Bastet. It's related to the signs of Sekhmet and Horus. Beneficial colors are yellow, ochre for men, and gray for women. The Bastet is the goddess with the body of a woman, the face of a cat, and swinging between good as bad tendencies, appears late in Egyptian religion, though the symbolism of the cat is ancient. Then we can go to the other zodiac sign of Osiris. Let me raise it up there so you can see it. Osiris, if you were born the 1st to 10th of March, or the 27th to the 18th of December, that comes under Osiris. It's related to the signs of Isis and Thoth. The beneficial colors are yellow for men and green for women. According to Egyptian legend, the god Nut, in spite of the curse of sterility proceeded upon her by Ra, was able to bear Osiris, and thanks to the help of the god Ibitho, she was able to have the child. There's a story related to that, and this reveals the whole story. So you have a story, cultural, ritual, spirituality, colors, food, diet, all associated with the sign as a holistic symbol in our culture. Then we have Mut. If you were born the 22nd to the 31st of January, or the 8th to the 22nd of September, that's related to signs of Ra and Thoth. Beneficial colors are brown for men and carmine for women. Mut is one of the most ancient divinities of ancient Egyptian pantheon. The epic of the Egyptian gods includes the very popular goddess Isis, the savior mother. Besides this woman in her role of both sister and wife, we find another mother, Mut, who has withdrawn into the mythical and historical scene while taking with her unspeakable words and fundamental violences. For this mother, who is repressed by the capricious genealogy of the gods, heroes, and men, life and death go on in hand. So we had a holistic kind of definition and story which reaffirms our culture. To know the story, you understand our culture. To know the story, you understand the stars, the galaxy. All this is part of our understanding in the zodiac science of Africa, of our ancestors. Of course, it helps you understand the Neter, the Neteru, the Neferteta Amu, understanding the spirituality of yourself, the non-duality of oneness. These are the Neters or columns in front of buildings are symbolic of that. And the one becomes many, the appearance of duality, heaven, the subtler realm of light. You have Atam, Ra, Ta, Amenet, Ra'ia, Sekhmet. And then you get to the Duat and earth, which is intermediate plane, a realm of light, and earth, the physical plane, where you get Hapi, Apet, Gib, and Amit. I guess it's good that you have this on video, because you can always put it on pause if you need to see it more in detail. But all of this deals with helping us to understand things. I want you to see how developed this science was in our culture over 4,000 years ago. Now, this list of the stars on the 16th of Papope. These are the stars, where they are, the action in the sky. It's described right there where the stars are. Now let me kind of translate this language for you in the next transparency of where these stars are. See what our ancestors are talking about here. Make sure I have it around backwards. What our ancestors are talking about here. It's floating off. Excuse me. That's the star chart of the North Pole of the sky, from the tune of Seti the First, explaining where all the stars are and the energy in the sky. This is what the chart is doing. They're using animals, and animal symbols are a language, because language is only a symbol. Now, what were they explaining? They were explaining in that, with those writings that I showed you, with that drawing from the pyramids that I showed you, the northern sky. They're explaining the zodiac here. See, December, Gemini, January, Cancer, February, Leo, March, Virgo, April, Libra, May, Scorpio, June, Sagittarius. They're explaining the northern sky and the constellations in it. Leo, Saturn's crater. All that's explained in the language I just showed you. Our ancestors were very developed in this science. And that is explained in the previous transparency that I showed you. Excuse me there. Drop my little instrument. That's explaining that to you. Let's move on. See, once that's translated into English, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a translation. Saying the first owl, the leg of the giant is over the heart. The second owl, the star Petet, over the heart. They're explaining the progression of the stars. It wasn't a science taken lightly. All we know today is that what sign are you, and people say Virgo and this sort of thing. But it's more to it than just that. Let me show you what I'm talking about when I say it's more to it than just that. Let me explain Capricorn to you. Capricorn, the goat, cardinal sign is Earth. Those people born from December the 22nd to January the 19th. This is the symbol for Capricorn. Southern hemisphere and winter season is ruled by Saturn. It rules the knees, skin, hair, and joints. It's number 8. It's in the house, the 8th house. The letters are H and CH. The colors dark blues or purple, brown, black, sage green, indigo, gray. The tone, the note is G. The note is Fa. The Gemini or the crystal is onyx, the jet, the moonstone. Then it tells you what metal, which is lead. The incense is benzoin. The plants are comfrey, henbane. The nightshades, which is tomatoes and asparagus, potatoes and things of that sort. Black poppy, interesting persons born under this sign. Tells you some of the white people that are born under it, which we don't have to concentrate on. Then we have Aquarius, the water carrier, which is a fixed sign, an air sign. Those are people born from January the 20th to February the 18th. And this is a symbol for Aquarius. The southern hemisphere and winter season. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn. It rules the legs below the knees and ankles. The number is 9. The letter is TH. The color is sky blue and lighter blue. The note is G or Fa. The crystal is black sapphire, opal, obsidian, and the black pearl. The metal is lead. The incense is euphorbium. The plants are myrrh, frankincense, and spikenard. We go to Pisces. The symbol is the fish. It's a mutable sign. It comes under element water. Those people born January the 19th to March the 20th. The symbol is there. The southern hemisphere in winter season is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. It rules the feet and toes. The number is 12. The letter is L. The color is dark purple, ocean blue, or sea green. The note, the musical note is A, which is sol. The crystal is peridot, sand, and chrysolite. Moonstone, pumice, and coral. The metal is tin. Incense is storax. The plants are mosses, which grow in water, and ferns and seaweed. Let's go now to Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed sign, it's a water sign. Those people born from October the 24th to November the 21st. This is the symbol. Southern hemisphere in autumn season is ruled by Mars and Pluto. It rules the nose, the pelvis of the kidney, the sacral vertebrae or backbone, as you would call it, the red corpuscles, the ureters, that's the kidneys urinate through the ureters, the genitals, sex organs, the bladder, the rectum, the prostate, the uterus, and the external reproductive organs are controlled by the sign Scorpio. This number is 4. The letter is D. The color is deeper shades of red. The musical note is C. The note when you're singing in psalmization is Do. The crystals are topaz, malachite, jasper, and bloodstone. The metal is iron and steel. The incense is opal-pine-x. The plants are basil, heather, horehound, bramble, bean, leek, wormwood, and blackthorn. Then we move on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the archer. It's a mutable sign. It's a fire sign. Those people born from November the 22nd to December the 21st. This is the symbol. The southern hemisphere and the autumn season is ruled by Jupiter, ruling the hips, the femur, the ilium, the coccygeal vertebrae, the thighs, the sciatic nerve. The number is 7. The letter is Z. The colors like purple, like bright blue, red, and indigo in mixtures. The musical note is A. Sol is the solmization sound. The gemstone or crystal is red garnet. Turquoise, carbuncle. The metal is tin. The incense is lignans, aloes, and the plants are the mallows, wood, betony, feverfew, and agrimony. And I told you it's a little more involved. This is a holistic science. I don't want to let you feel as though I'm depriving you from the other science, so I'll do the rest of them just to be more democratic with that. Let's go to Aries. Symbol is the ram. It's a cardinal sign, a fire sign, March 21st to April the 19th. This is the symbol. The northern hemisphere, spring is the season. It's ruled by Mars. It rules the head, the eyes, the face, the cranium, the upper jaw, the right and left cerebral hemisphere, and the carotid arteries. The number is 13. The letters M. The colors are light red, scarlet, magenta, and claret. The tone is high C or Do. The crystal is amethyst, ochre, diamond, bloodstone, flint, jasper, red stones. The metal is iron and steel. The incense is myrrh. The plants are hemp, mustard, broom, holly, dock, thistle, fern, garlic, onions, nettles, radishes, poppies, peppers, rhubarb, blackberry, cowslip, and marjoram. Then we get to Taurus. The symbol is bull. It's a fixed sign, earth sign, April the 20th to May the 20th. This is a symbol. Northern hemisphere, spring season is ruled by Venus, ruling the neck, the throat, the ears, the palate, the tonsils, the cerebellum, the occipital region, the 7 cervical vertebrae, the larynx, the pharynx, the lower jaw, the vocal cords. This number is 14. The letter is M. The color is dark yellow, pale blue, pastels. The musical note is E, which is solmization is La. The crystal is moss, agate, emerald, alabaster, carnelia, white opaque stones, white coral. The metal is copper. The incense is pepperwort. The plants are daisies, dandelion, myrtle, gourds, flax, lilies, larkspur, spinach, moss, and lovage. Now we move to Gemini, which are the twins. It's a mutable, and it's an air sign, May the 21st to June the 21st. This is the symbol. The northern hemisphere, spring season. It's ruled by Mercury, ruling the shoulders, the clavicle, the scapula, the arms, hands, upper ribs, breath, oxygenation of blood, the bronchial, the lungs. The number is 17. The letters are F, Phi, PH, and P. The color are lightest shades of violet, plaids, checks, or blue-gray. The musical note is B. The note Mi. The stones or crystals are beryl crystal, aquamarine, agate, striped stones. The metal is quicksilver. The incense is mastic. The plants are madder, tansy, vervain, woodbine, yarrow, meadowsweet, privet, and doggrass. Now we move on to Cancers. The symbol is crab. The cardinal sign is water. It's a water element. It comes from June the 21st to July the 22nd. This is the symbol. The northern hemisphere and summer season is ruled by the moon, ruling the stomach, the peristalsis, the lower part of the lungs, the breast, the esophagus, the diaphragm, liver, and stomach. The number is 18. The letters are SH, TS, TZ. Color is light greens, white, silvery gray, opalescence, iridescence hues. The musical note is F. T is the solmization. The crystals are emerald, black onyx, pearl, selenite, and those that are soft and white, such as chalk. The metal is silver, aluminum, antimony, and incense is camphor. The plants are daisy, agrimony, alder, lemon balm, and water lilies, rushes, cucumbers, squashes, melons, water plants, water betony, honeysuckle, hyssop, and jasmine. Now let's move on to Leo. Maybe I should raise this up some so you can get a better view. Okay? Now we're at Leo, which is represented by the lion. It's a fixed sign. Comes under fire element. July the 23rd to August the 22nd. This is the symbol. The northern hemisphere and summer season is ruled by the sun, ruling the spine, the back, the heart. The number is 19. The letter is Q. The colors are light orange, golden shades, deep yellows. The musical note is D. And when you solmization, that's Ra or Re. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. You understand? That means solmization. Crystal is ruby, sardonyx, diamonds, cat's eyes, soft yellow stones. The metal is gold. The incense is frankincense. The plants are St. John's wort, angelica, bay laurel, bugloss, borage, celandine, eyebright, chamomile, daffodil, cowslip, anise, fennel, dill, poppy, yellow lily, marigold, agaric, peony, rue, saffron, heliotrope, mint, lavender, mistletoe, and parsley. And we're down to Virgo, which is the Virgin, mutable sign. The element is earth, August the 23rd to September the 22nd. This is the symbol. The northern hemisphere and summer season is ruled by Mercury, ruling the abdominal and umbilical regions, the lower liver, the spleen, duodenum, the intestines, the numbers 2. The letter is B. The colors are dark violet, checks, slate, and plaid. The musical note is B. The psalmization is Mi. The crystal is jasper, amethyst, lagura, flints. The metal is quicksilver. Incense is sandalwood. The plants are barley, oats, rye, wheat, succory, skullcap, woodbine, valerian, millet, endive, and privet. Now we're down to Libra, which is the balancing of the scales. It's the cardinal sign. The element is air. September the 23rd to October the 23rd. This is the symbol. The southern hemisphere, autumn season, is ruled by Venus. It rules the lumbar region, the kidneys, the reproductive fluids, the skin, the adrenals, the internal genital organs. The numbers 3, the letter is G. The color light shades of yellow, pastel shades, pale blue, and light gold. The musical note is E, which psalmization to La. And the crystals are opal, white stones, diamond, jade, and beryl. The metal is copper. The incense is galbanum. The plants are white rose, strawberry, violet, watercress, primrose. We call it evening primrose, pansy, heartsease, and lemon thyme. That's the holistic perspective on the zodiac signs. Now, we use them sometimes to plot our relationships. So you want to see what planets you have more incongruent for each other. So when a relationship analysis chart is done between a man and a woman, what we're looking at is what planets they have in common. The sun force, which is life force, the individual personality, central basic energy, the self-creativity. If you have a lot of aspects in the sun, then that means a lot of harmony. If you have more in conflict with each other, in opposition, that means the relationship will not work out that well. It may take a lot of work. You can make it be productive, make it ma'at, but it will take a lot of work. So you want to look to see what you have in common by plotting your zodiac sign. Fire, water, air, earth, and seeing what you have under these things for the man and the woman. What types of energy levels you have. If you have a lot in common in Mercury, mental energy, the active mind, the rational mind, communication ability, the messenger of the gods, and thought, you will communicate quite well. But you may be in conflict in some other sign, like Uranus, which is the 7th chakra, or crown energy, explosive, crazy wisdom, change, the innovator, cosmic consciousness, awakener. So if you have these two, Uranus, you have a lot of elements falling in Uranus, then you're going to have a lot of explosive, crazy stuff going on in your relationship. So it lets you know how to sit down and plot your relationship, how you need to relate to each other, how you have to talk to each other, and use the science of communication. Once again, I'm going to show you that that's our ancestors founded this science. This is Senefer, the royal gardener, and his sister Miret. This is from a wall painting in the tomb of Senefer, Thebes, 18th dynasty, the reign of Tutmosis III. We had what the Europeans called gardeners, which were ancient herbalists. And they planted the herbs and harvested them based on their zodiac sign. And they also used astrology in their planning as well as preparation of the herbs. The science was always incorporated in our daily activity by ancient herbalists, which the Europeans like to call gardeners. So you won't know that that is a scientist there. Now here's the approaches to astrology. You can approach it from the planetary position, causes, the gravitational field changes, that's inside the moon, the tidal waves effect, inside the sun, the solar flares, the gas eruptions from the sun. This is how you can approach astrology, the various ways. The solar winds, those are particles from the sun hitting the earth. The solar wind causes the earth to move. It puts it in motion. It helps slow it up and speed up the speed. The solar winds causes weather changes. Moon's gravitational field, you can go with the ionosphere changes, ionizations of layers above the earth. The alpha waves on the surface of the earth, which relates to your emotional changes in your individual. This is how astrology affects you on the various levels. The alpha waves on the surface of the earth cause birth quickening, child sensitivity to particular planetary position, and has a natal effect. Now then, we're going to look at some other aspects of it. Let's look at the different approaches to knowledge and the question of proof, which is what we use in astrology for knowledge. Now, we can use assumption, which is causality, is not necessarily causal. That's when you say if you have two things happen at the same time, one is the cause and one is the effect. Sometimes that is not so. That's assumption, causality way of thinking. You can aim, that's discrimination and classification. Or you can use intuition with synthesis and order. The nature of resulting concepts, which is kind of static in thinking. Process and orderly changes, that's the intuition. We can use these various ways to approach knowledge, but that doesn't mean that one approach is better than the other. We can use the units of language, which are signs and symbols. Or we can use the domain of usefulness, the outer world, material world, or the inner world, psychic and spiritual world, to approach knowledge. You can approach knowledge from your inner world. You can approach knowledge from symbols. You can approach knowledge from mystery systems. You can approach knowledge from the process and orderly change. You can approach knowledge from nature. You can approach knowledge from orientation, or your field of study, be it chemistry, be it music, be it color, be it art, be it dancing. This is how you approach knowledge and the question of proof. Now then, let's look at the pack of cards. The pack of cards, its true purpose and what you can do about it once you discover it. In a pack of cards, which was designed by our ancestors, you have 52 cards and you have 52 weeks in the year. You have 13 cards in each suit. You have 12 signs of the zodiac plus the sun behind the sun. That gives you the 13 cards in the suit. As you can see, the astrology is involved in cards. Then you have the two colors, red and black. One is positive, the other is negative. One is male, one is female. Red is male, black is female. Then you have the four suits, the hearts, the clubs, the diamonds, the spades. That gives you the four elements that we were talking about, the fire, air, and water. And you have the four seasons. Then you have the 12 court cards, which are the kings, queens, and jacks, which gives you the 12 months of the year. So from this you can see that cards are a solar-based game to help you understand the zodiac and astrology and your position in the universe and the galaxy. Then you have these two special numbers, 7 and 9. The number 7 as the center of each suit. The 7 original planets known to the ancients. That's what we use in astrology. These planets that I referred to, the Sun, Uranus, Pluto. That's what we're referring to the ancients as our ancient ancestors. That's why 7 is the center number in the African game of playing cards, as you call it. The domicile sacred number that symbolizes the force, peace, and the harmony that are at the center of the universe. And the soul man, which we're back to those sacred numbers. The number 9 is the last single number before 10 when you get into the double digits. The cycle of man's experiences. And 9, the number that includes all numbers and all planets, is 9, the universal number. Then you have the joker, which is the remnant of days beyond the logical 7 times 52 to total our required 365 days. 7 times 52 gives you all the days in a week. There are 365 points in a deck, and there are 365 days in a year. Playing cards is an African game to explain the zodiac and explain your position in the zodiac. Then you get into the joker, which is the highest symbol in the entire deck. Usually pictured as a fool, but is either rejected or played while in our card games. Its true significance is identical with that of 0, or the fool card in tarot, in that it's If to know about it is to know nothing, because you cannot know God. It symbolizes God, and you're a fool to try. So we call it a fool card, basically. So we have these suits to symbolize the heart, the spring, the club, summer, diamonds, harvest, spades. And that symbolizes the progression of the seasons. So you learn your seasons, the days of the week, the days of the year, and the celestial forces by playing cards, which is an African game. As I mentioned before, astrology is a holistic science that was totally involved in our way of life. Let me show you. It is not just this when you're playing cards. Now, it's according to which way this African woman is looking, how she's holding the sphere, which just indicates you have these four principles that I mentioned before: fire, air, water. Remember? Those four elements, they're shown here again. You're shown the celestial forces again here, which is higher consciousness around God. Then you have the female pyramid, the levels of development. Remember I was showing you the cycles that you have, the first cycle, the second cycle, the third cycle earlier. This is indicative of those cycles. This is what these braids mean, the twirling force, the positiveness within your being. All this is symbolical to represent astrology and the totality of your being. And the cards reinforce this. Just looking at it and think nothing is going on but some special design is a European way of looking at it. Let's move on. I don't want to overdo it with you here. I'm just going to show you some more of the key words of the cards. Now, positive and negative. We have the aces. Individualization, leadership, progress. The negative aspect is selfishness, dictatorship, and laziness. Desire and self. That's the aces. Then we get into the twos, which is cooperation, friendliness, diplomacy, and union. The negative aspect is toadying, indifference, lying, and dependence. The positive aspect of three are happiness, optimism, social ability, right choice. The negative aspect is jealousy, worry, intolerance, and indecision. Then we get to the four card, which is organization, self-discipline, service, and results. The negative aspect is carelessness, restriction, destruction, and completion. The five card is adaptability, versatility, change, and expressiveness of travel. Negative aspect is aloofness, triviality, restlessness, crosses, and changes. Let me raise that up so you can see it here. Let's go to the sixth card, which is responsibility, love, harmony, adjustment. The negative aspect is interference, criticism, anxiety, and monotony. Now we're going to go to the seven card. The seven card is spirituality, mental keenness, peace and silence, and spiritual victory. The negative aspect is melancholy, coldness, skepticism, and obstacles. The eight card is power, material freedom, philanthropy, and power. The negative aspect is scheming, materiality, bullying, and domination. The nine card is humanitarianism, the higher law, universal love, and fulfillment. The negative aspect is selfishness, emotionalism, dispossession, and disappointment. The 10 card is divinity of man, universal progress, universal ideals, and success. The negative aspect is exploitation, promotion, and the number one, ambition, egotism. And the jacks correspond to the number 11. They are linked to inspiration and ideas. Negatively, they represent laziness and immaturity. Then we get to the 12 card, which would be the queens. They have power in their own right. 1, and receptivity. 2, negatively, they are lazy and shiftless or drudges. Then we get to the kings, which represent the principles of negativity and fixation. As 13, they are the one force behind the Trinity, which is equal to 13, which is adds up to 4. They have the power of the master number 22. And this is the game that you call cards, which is not a game at all. It's lessons in astrology, lessons in self, lessons in spirituality, and growth and development. Remember, we are trying to relate again to that energy within us, because we are astrology. We are the galaxy. This is that energy force field that sits above your pineal gland, which we call the third eye. It has a spin. It has an orbit. It clusters. It spreads. It tilts. It has a tilt to it. It has an equatorial spin, an ecliptical spin. All this is occurring inside of you. You are the galaxy. And our ancestors symbolize that spirit by various hair designs. what you call hair designs, which are actually a language. The language of the spin. Remember I told you that the negative spin into the left is female. This is a man, of course. I mean, he's showing the compassion, showing the unity he has within himself with his female principle. Again, he's showing this mountain right here. Remember I was telling you how the Het is the beginning, and then Ptah sits on this mountain that comes out of Mem. Then we have these aspects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Remember we were talking about the cards. Remember that number 11 card? Again, we're symbolizing all that is wrapped up into the galaxy. Again, we're showing the orbits over top of your third eye, which we call, over top of your pineal gland, which we call the third eye. Again, this is a language that we're using to communicate the higher force fields and the higher spirituality of our culture. They are not just hair designs. We have to get away from that illusion. They are designs to people who do not understand the language. For someone to understand the language, they are speaking to you. The symbolic approach. I went over all the zodiac signs with you. I didn't go much into the psychological correspondence because that's what they have in the newspapers, and they kind of play on that aspect of it because the Europeans don't want to expose the spiritual nature of it and the power which there is in understanding it. So they kind of focus on this psychological correspondence, and they show you something like Aries in the newspaper, the will and the urge to act. Now's the best time to act, to gamble, and to get into some enterprise, and you have a good desire for love, and they would kind of wrap it in some sort of ignorance to distort the science of it all. I thought I'd show that to you. The benefit of having it on video is you can put it on pause if you want to get more information about it. That's primarily why I have it there for you. Again, we are engrossed in learning all the time, and we need to use all these aspects to help us become more of a person. We have to use totality of the knowledge. We have to sankofa it, bring it back to its original source. We have to do an information reparation. And then I was talking earlier about the qualities, the cardinal signs, the fixed signs, the mutable signs, and this is how they're defined. Aries is a cardinal sign, comes out ruled by Mars. Taurus is a fixed sign ruled by Venus. We were going over those rulers, the planetary influences, and the quality. And these are the qualities that I was referring to earlier. Again, I'm putting this up for your information in case you want to get more into it. You can put it on pause and have this for your library. These are the elements that I was referring to when I said cardinal, the fire signs. The cardinal sign, Aries is a cardinal sign, Leo is a fixed sign, Sagittarius is a mutable sign. The key concept is single-pointed release of energy toward new experience for the cardinal sign of Aries. The planet in this sign will be colored by these qualities: self-will, urge for action, self-assertion. So this gives you the elements of the zodiacal signs and their key concepts. As I mentioned earlier, the planets indicate specific dimensions of your experience. The signs indicate the quality of your experience. The house indicates the fields of your experience, wherein the energies of the planets and signs operate. Then you have the aspects or the angular relationship between the planets, the real how various dimensions of your experience are integrated within your individuality. So here we have the fire signs: Aries, Leo, Sagittarius; the earth signs: Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo; the air signs: Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini; the water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. As you can see, under each sign we have a cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Cardinal, fixed, and mutable. I'm going to raise up the bottom a little in case some of the bottom was out of focus there. Again, I don't want to overdo the information, but I did thought I would show you all these things so you could have it in case you want to refer back to it. And the planets I was referring to are these planets and their influence, like the planet Mercury. This planet is closest to the sun. It represents the mind in general. and all our mental process. It is there for education, exchange of ideas, communication, messages, things that come quickly and go quickly. This is what that planet means, and when it influences your sign, this is what it brings to you. The planets. Right, this up so in case you want to see how Jupiter influences you, and Neptune, and Uranus, Venus, and Mars. But again, I don't want you to lose sight of what's going on here, or how the melanin breaks down the light, and the light plays on our total being. Don't lose sight that this is all about helping you to have a better relationship between yourself and nature, yourself and your diet, yourself and your oneness. Now the 10 Commandments come under zodiac signs as well. The first commandment is Aries, the second commandment is Taurus. Excuse me. This is the water again. The third commandment is Gemini. The fourth commandment is Leo. The fifth commandment is Libra. Sixth is Virgo. The seventh commandment is Capricorn. The eighth commandment is Sagittarius. The ninth commandment is Aquarius. And the 10th commandment is Pisces. They also come under zodiac signs. But this is kind of how the water is formed. We have this melanin nucleus, and the water condensates around that nucleus to form a raindrop. And then we get a cluster of raindrops that forms a droplet, and this droplet is what you call a raindrop. But first it starts with this condensation nucleus, which we call melanin, the electromagnetic force that causes the rain. You have this in your body. It's produced by your pineal gland. You are the rain. You are the wind. You are the sun. And each time the sun has its explosions, eruption, it produces these colors, and it has the effect on you. We are on the sun looking out. This is the sun. This is eruption on the sun, and you're looking at it shoot up, eruption. We're on the sun looking at how it occurs, how this plays into the atmosphere. And we call that sunspots. And look at the language of color and the fragrance of flowers and herbs. How those colors, once again, when I was classifying the plants under the zodiac sign, we were using this to help us to define things. Instability and white, we were using this to help us define these plants and why they should be under these signs. When I was giving you the signs, the musical notes, and the colors, and the letters, I was trying to show you the relationship that was going on there. We are related to the whole. We are the galaxy. The galaxy is us. Our whole body is nothing but more than a large microcosm of the galaxy. We carry it with us. The days of the week are the same. You have the Saturn, which is green, the sun. Sunday is yellow. Monday is the moon. Tuesday is Mars. Wednesday is Mercury. Thursday is Jupiter. Friday is Venus. As you can see by the various colors, each one of these dominating colors has an influence on us in these various sections. That's how we classify the parts of the body based on the zodiac signs. We can do that based on the colors, and we still come to the same knowledge and information. Your approach to knowledge can be different, but the results are always the same, to help you produce ma'at, to help you produce more understanding, more togetherness, more closeness, more bonding with you and your ancestors and your culture. And remember, I was referring to the 5 major water rivers and where they originate in Africa, and why the Europeans want to control Africa, and why they spread AIDS and other diseases around these water centers. That's because of Africa's potential water energy. All those major vapor rivers originate here. So they have to control Africa, and I'm trying to show you why they are not going to give it up without a fight. control Africa is to control the world. Now I want to show you the functions of the planets and the signs. The basic personal factors, consciously directed actions. The sun, how is? The moon, how one reacts. Mercury, communications and thinking. Venus, expression of affections, feels appreciated, gives self. Mars, how you assert yourself and express your desires. The collective factors, states of being. Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter, how one seeks to grow and to experience trust in life. Saturn, how one seeks to establish and preserve self through effort. The transpersonal factors, transformative energies. The sign positions of Uranus and Neptune and Pluto are indications of generational attitudes, but in the individual chart they are of much less importance than the house position aspects of these planets. Remember that everything starts on the earth, starts with the soil, starts with those mineral bases. The minerals give us our behavior and give us our nutrients, and where all these minerals act, that we study, these planets have a high amount of certain energies and minerals on it. And this German who laid out this chart shows why the Europeans and their running dogs are going to control Africa and keep raping Africa, because they are totally dependent upon Africa's mineral wealth. We have Japan, we have West Germany, East Germany, the United States, Great Britain, France, Israel, and of course we have South Africa with his new running dog of Nelson Mandela, who are raping Africa as we speak today for these vital minerals which they studied and know their effect on your mind, mood, and states of consciousness, and your lifespan and your spirituality. That's why we are losing control of our life, and our lifespan is getting reduced. This is our old lifespan that we had before we came in contact with the Europeans. This is youth. 30 years old, we were still in youth. From 30 to 60, we were young adults. From 60 to 100 years of age, we were in middle age. And aging adults, the senior citizens, started at 100 and went beyond this 130, which is actually a shortened lifespan for African. And now we're into the European concept of age, which ends right here. Our lifespan is ending a little over 65. We do not live long enough to collect Social Security because we're not holistically involved. We're losing our science, the science of astrology, the science of nutrition. We need to sankofa and restore them so we can get back to this normal life. Because what we're living now is a diseased life and a diseased culture with diseased attitudes and feelings, which are the direct results of white supremacy, oppression, slavery, and colonialism. We have to get back to our original purity and understand that we are gods and goddess, and the galaxy is a part of our living being and a part of our living vocabulary. I hope this information helps you to reaffirm what you need to know and what you need to do. And that is to be a whole person, functioning with your body, mind, and spirit and at its optimum level by using the purest amount of information. Information is Afrocentric, and using a pure whole food diet, a diet that God created, and understanding that you are creation in a microcosm. You express the macrocosm. You are, indeed, astrology.